because it comes across where the audience can see your posture.
We just talked about that.
I know. I said now if I sit up, my feet gonna be swinging.
I just keep that back straight. Forgot to turn my phone off, but turn it to mute.
I'm OCD, so I was like, I got to turn it off, and then I need to
Welcome to the sit down. My name is Rod Love, and boy, I tell you, we have a special guest for you this evening. Please welcome to the sit down. And for those of you who are not familiar with the sit down, we all know those point in times that have come in our life whether it was mama, grandmama, uncle, this, that, and the other, when folks said, even when your wife or husband say, we need to sit down, we knew that meant it was time for a serious discussion. So I want to welcome everybody to the sit down, a component of Let's Talk Nation network. And we have with me, and everybody's familiar with Miss Shaquita Wynn, who is the operations manager out in the community, and she's doing some great work. Miss Wynn, welcome.
Thank you.
And I know Armando's going to hit the applause button on this one. You know, he ain't going to be slacking on this. But also want to welcome our special guest, Miss Reeves, with 8 cents in the jar. Welcome to the sit down.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mine didn't hear that. See, he didn't hear the applause button, you know. But anyway, but Miss Reeves, welcome to the sit down. We know that you've been doing some great work in the community.
Thank you.
It didn't just start yesterday.
No, not at all.
And the sit down, we look at what's taking place in the community. We look at who's being effective. And boy, your name continued to come up. 8 cents in a jar is very, very branded for being effective.
So I'm honored.
Well, but once again, welcome. But if you would, and this is something that I just found out, that you're a homegirl from down south.
Yes. So Revere Beach, Florida, Palm Beach County, Dade County are my roots.
Hey, hold on, let me make sure. Do we need Miss Reeves to pull that mic over to her? Because I don't want anybody to miss anything. We get some good feed output. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Awesome.
Or still pull it. Just lean it. Yeah, it'll tilt.
There we go. There we go.
And you can sit back. It'll pick you up.
Awesome.
But yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So born and raised down south. I would like to say finance found me. I had no idea that this is a profession that I would go into. Okay. So long story short, at 14, my life changed forever. My mom died 6 days before Christmas.
Boy.
Due to a medical negligence. We sued the hospital, got $4.2 million. And in the same time, my younger sister was going through cancer and chemotherapy. With that $4.2 million, in less than 2 years, all $4.2 million was completely gone.
Ooh.
Listen, yes. So as a result, my sophomore, junior, and senior year, I ended up staying with relatives. It turned into distant relatives. And so it turned into me asking my friends, can we have a week-long sleepover? Because I was homeless. And so I graduated high school, barely, considered a ward of the state, hitched a ride with my friend as she was moving into college, Florida A&M University.
Go Rattlers, huh?
Yes, go Rattlers. yes. So I begged and pleaded, and I said, look, I know what it says about me on paper. I know I got a little record, but if you give me an opportunity, I promise I'll make you proud. And that's literally how I got accepted into FAM. Also, during that time, I became a teenage mom my freshman year. My dad, he was about to go into hospice, had no money, no checking account, savings account, insurance. So I took out student loans to bury him. He ended up passing away. I found out 6 months after that he was selling our identity for drugs and money. So I had identity theft in my name, have a daughter. Then I had to adopt my sister. And I realized, like, this isn't the life that I want. Like, I don't want to be that third generation relying 100% on public assistance. And I want to do something unique. And little behold, did I know that will start my financial journey. Wrote down some goals. So I just talked about manifestation.
Mhm.
I was like, I want to move to a Apopka. Never even stepped foot in a Apopka
Hey,
a day in my life.
one time for the APK.
APK,
One time for
yes.
APK.
And so, lo and behold, just me really writing down my dreams, my financial goals, like what I want to do with money. I need to learn how to manage money. I embarked on a career in banking. So, immediately after college, I bought a home as a graduation gift.
Wow.
Went to go work for Regions Bank, managing 22 million. Then I moved to Orlando, APK, where I worked for Charles Schwab and managed 3 billion.
Wow.
And realized I don't see anyone that looks like me or who's under the age of 50 that work in this industry. And the loopholes, the financial practices that we're teaching, why don't they teach us? And so I used to invite them, like, come with me to the Urban League, come with me to this, like, help teach. Everybody said no.
Mm.
That's not our target. That's not our demographic. So I said, you know what? I'm going to make it my target and my demographic in a way that we can resonate. And that's literally how A Cents and Jar began. That's my mission on a professional, personal basis is really all about financial literacy for all.
But I'm listening to your trials and tribulations.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also hearing your passion.
Yes.
And what I will also say, I also heard you give a shout out to Rattler Nation.
Yes,
and,
FAMU.
and hey, to the Rattler Nation,
Coming up.
to the Rattler Nation, you got nothing but pride in one of your own. And I will tell you, my mama went to FAMU,
Yes,
so
I love it.
got an affinity for those Rattlers. But I'm hearing your passion, and as I'm sitting here listening to you, I'm thinking we have honor roll students that are tutors for younger children, and we, thanks to Dr. Nelson, I might add, we have a system called GBA, Grades, Behavior, and Attendance. Those honor roll students, and we also have college students that are tutors in reading, math, and we've seen young people grades increase. We've seen their behaviors increase, and the reason why you have that component of attendance is if you're not attending educational settings, then nothing is improving.
Correct.
And so as you're talking, I'm thinking, Miss Wynn, maybe we need to pull together a virtual session for those college students and those honor roll students to get some of that 8 cents in a job.
Listen, because that's what we do. So I was just telling your team that people know financial literacy.
Mhm.
We go deeper. It's not just about financial literacy, it's about financial social work, where we include your background, we include your economic mobility, we include your environment. Because if you can't resonate with me, if you don't understand my struggles and the struggles of our students, then forget financial literacy. We have to address that financial trauma, and it starts early. So that's why we start as young as 8.
What?
8 years old.
Hey, so this is specific to Orange County, correct?
So we love Orange County. I live in Orange County, so obviously Orange County is going to get some love. But we do service Central Florida.
Okay.
So we're in Brevard, we're in Seminole County, in Lake County as well. And so we're getting calls to branch out. So down south on us.
I'll tell you what, I want you to go ahead and give a plug because I do know Orange County CCC is one of your funders.
Yes, they are.
The community needs to know. And when you mentioned Seminole, so you need to go ahead and look. I don't know which, the camera with the red light on, and thank your funders because you're impacting the local community.
Yeah, so because of our funders, we're able to service 3,000 students.
Wow.
Last year alone, we serviced 1,399 students.
Incredible.
Mostly in Orange County. And it is because of Orange County CCC, who has been with us from the start. And so just if I can do a small shout out
give a shout
to
out.
Sonia Hill. So she's overhead start for Orange County government. Okay. And she convinced us, you need to be here. Like, you're coming. Man. She drove me to the first meeting. And little behold, it would just ascend, over a 4-year partnership that we've had with them. And so other banks too. So Chase Bank have been with us.
Lynette yes.
Lynette Johnson, Jean Martin. Yes, so thank you. They were even instrumental.
And what bank? That's Chase, right?
Yes, Chase. We have Additions Financial. So thank you all so much. We also have other financial institutions. So Robinhood invests us on the investment side.
Okay.
So our kids, they do invest. They know how to pick their stocks, mutual funds, and portfolios.
Okay. But see, that is so important. You know, we talk about what can we do to impact communities that are in most need.
Yes.
Well, financial literacy, financial education, the ability to
Mm-hmm.
understand how to invest
Yes.
your resources.
Yes.
So you're doing some incredible work. But you know what? Here at the sit down, we have the real sit down.
There you go.
And
Okay. Okay.
So we heard your background, and one of these questions is going to be somewhat muted to the extent that, you know, describe your experience in education, particularly when it comes to teaching young people. So what have you found that really connects with young people?
Experiential learning, which means hands-on. So
Mhm.
instead of talking to them about future state, when you get older, when you grow up, after you do this, then do that.
Mhm.
No, it's everything is hands-on right now.
Yeah. Okay.
How they can start saving money, acquiring assets, and building wealth right now. Because they're watching us. They're watching their parents, they're watching community leaders, and they're watching how we interact with money.
Okay.
So now we need to give them a hands-on experience so they can start creating their behaviors and their patterns so they can have an opportunity for
So how are you tracking that?
Oh, listen. So my degree, my bachelor's degree is in finance and business administration, and then I have a master's in human resources law.
You go, girl.
Yes.
You do your thing.
And so I'm all about numbers,
Okay.
right? And so we're doing economic mobility. Are you financially better off than your parents were at a certain age in time? So the age that we track is 28.
Okay.
So we service students between 8 to 28.
Mhm.
By the time you turn 28, you will have done a few things with us. One, we're measuring how many financial accounts that you have. And if you don't have it, we're going to change that.
Okay.
So we're going down to Chase. We're seeing Miss Lynette. We're going to Chase.
Chase, we will be calling Chase and SunTrust to buy some advertising.
Yes.
That's all we're getting right now.
Yes, and so we make sure they have an account. So that's one way. And then with those savings account, we measure the accumulated savings.
Okay.
So if you started out with $8 or 8 cents, then how can we get you to have an accumulative net worth of $8,000? That is our goal for the students. Also, assets that they've acquired. Did they pay for a car in cash and they own it? We have students in college that now own real estate.
Wow.
Who
that's
purchased a duplex, live on one side and rent out the other side. Don't tell the students that they're the landlord. Come up with a
Man,
company.
well, you know what? And so as a component of the reading and math education, Miss Queek, we need to look at how we connecting at least these kids to get a component of 8 cents in a jar financial literacy and education.
Yes, yeah. Well, I'm gonna stop right there. Where did the name 8 cents in a
Yeah.
come from?
I know. So a couple of reasons, but so going back to my past, and so everything that happened with my dad, which I love my family, I love my dad. And as an adult, I can understand how things took place because again, no one is talking about financial literacy, economic education, and personal finance at home, right? So it's FIND, and you go through those traumas and those behaviors that you see. So after my dad passed, and again, I found out that, he was using my name and had other people using my name. By the time I got it cleared up, where either some companies, they wrote it off because they can see. Some companies was like, nope, that's your dad. Like, we don't believe that story. Like, that's just not possible. And I had to pay them people back.
Wow.
So by the time I got done, I literally had 8 cents in my account.
8 cents in a
Bank
jar.
called, they said you don't have enough to have a checking account. You need to come and close your account. We can mail you a check for 8 cents or whatever.
What?
I said, no, I'm coming to get my 8 cents. All 8 of them. Because it won't even be, the check is worth more.
More than 8 cents.
So I went to the bank, got my 8 cents, came home and just threw it in a jar. Because I was just so mad.
Man.
And I said, you know what? Never again will I be in this situation or be this broke. And looking at the 8 cents in a jar, that's literally where the name came from.
So you actually put that 8 cents
Oh,
In
in
a
a
jar.
jar, and it was somewhere placed where it was a reminder to you, and it
Mhm.
reinforced.
It did. Yes, and I
Wow.
had no idea that that was happening. And so then, if I can go a little spiritual,
Oh,
if that's okay.
go, please
So,
go.
in the Bible of A, new beginnings of what that represents, right? So
Mhm.
that resonated with me. And for most working class families, your first concept of savings is putting your spare change in a jar, in a
Right.
tub, or whatever.
Yeah.
So collectively, 8 cents in a jar represents a new beginning for students to learn how to build wealth.
Well, let me do this. Let me do this real quick. You're listening to Miss Reeves, president, CEO, founder of 8 Cents in a Jar. And you're watching the sit down that takes place every Monday at 6 p.m. And the sit down is going to be bringing you community-based organizations from Orange, Osceola, and Seminole County. And we're going to be letting the public know what's taking place in their community, what's accessible to them in their community. But hey, just like anything else, we got to pay the bills and we got to take a quick commercial break. And so I'm going to let it shift over to our engineer. I don't know if it's Doc Polite or Mondo tonight, but hey, fellas, take us to the break real quick. Hey, welcome back to the sit down. I'm your man, Rod Love, and I'm sitting here with Miss Reeves. And boy, I tell you, she's bringing us some information that you would not believe. Miss Queen, it sounds like you had a question you wanted to ask Miss Reeves.
I did, Miss Reeves, with you teaching the youth starting at the age of 8. Based on the number of kids that you have touched,
Mhm.
can you provide us with one of your success stories?
Ooh, I mean, can I
That's
do?
so many, she don't know where to start.
Can I give more than one?
Yes.
So I would definitely say I'm gonna start out with one of our first students. So she came to us and she was a teenage mom
Mhm.
in high school, and so she was one of our first 25 students. And so she was, working with us, learning how to create a savings plan, budget, got her into college at UCF. And her junior year, she bought her first home
Boy.
in Sanford. So it was a 2-bedroom, and then there was a garage that the previous owner converted into a studio and used that for rental income.
Man. I mean, you're talking about changing the trajectory
Yes.
of young people's lives, and people may not realize it starts with some degree, and I don't even want to call it wealth, with some degree of financial resources.
Hmm.
And so I'm listening to the track that you've been on, but again, we talk about teaching strategies, but how do you approach tailoring financial education content to the different age groups?
So we definitely don't have them all together.
Okay.
And so we do have age demographics, right?
Mhm.
So for our elementary students, we call them elementary earners.
Okay.
And so they like to say, that they exchange being on the playground for profits.
Oh, there you go.
Or,
There you go.
they may forego recess, one day out of the month for revenue.
Okay.
And so we teach them everything from being entrepreneurs to being investors. Right now, we have a group of elementary students that are competing in a stock market competition. $100,000 that they're managing and having some amazing returns, like averaging 6-7%.
I was going to ask the question: how do you keep the attention of elementary school students? But that's something that's getting their attention, I'm sure.
Right there.
Meet me. I can't even explain, but who does not interact with money in one way or the other? You either want to spend it or save it.
Yeah.
And so we teach to those two disciplines where we're going to give you enough money to spend, but we also going to show you how you can save, invest money, and have your money make money for you.
Yes.
So they're on it. Luckily for us, not to brag, but we don't have a problem with catching their attention because it's all hands-on learning. Rarely do you see just someone speaking and they got to listen.
Right.
No, they're using their phones, as a tool to do research, laptops, each other, where they're coming together for a commonality that just so happens to interact with money.
Boy. So jumping from one end of the spectrum to the other, we're talking about elementary school students.
Yes.
Then let's talk about those high school students.
Yes. So even before that, we have middle school, and that's our middle school money club. And so again, everything that deals with money, and then high school are high school hustlers. So even for
Let's call them high school
hustlers, yes, because they always try to hustle their parents out of money.
Yeah.
So for the parents, they be like, help my kids so they can stop asking me for money.
You know
And that's what we do.
Makes a whole lot of sense. Yeah.
And so, even through, we have like side hustle Saturdays where we show them how to create a side hustle so they can make at least $500 a month just based upon their passion.
I need to put my granddaughter.
See?
in touch with you.
And that's what happened. Like, we heard something. We need you to sign up our grandkids, our kids, our nieces and nephews.
But you know what? You talk about side hustles, and the other side of the vernacular of that is the gig economy now.
Yes.
And so for young people, because today, in an ever-changing financial landscape, staying up to date is crucial.
Yes.
How are you, responding to the ever-changing environment? The pandemic really woke everybody up.
It did.
And it looks like everybody said, I got to learn a side hustle.
Yes.
Indeed. So one of the things that we preach is, we know people always have a passion. We all have a given passion. You may not think it's a passion or something that you're good at, even if it's talking, reading, eating food. We would then connect it to a purpose on this earth, a purpose in this community, and then show you how to bring profits with it as well, and then create a process. So if you can do all of those things, then we're helping them with the gig economy. But most importantly, they can either be an entrepreneur and then also transition to become a small business owner, then a business owner, so they can employ people and pay themselves correctly.
Yes.
But then also for careers. So we even have a careers to currency pipeline. We're looking at all of the careers that people of color, people in low to moderate income settings don't even think to go into. How can we get you the certifications now? How can we get you the exposures now? And then when you do get that job, how can we help you to negotiate your salary, understand your benefits package, and now use that to create wealth?
Boy, an area that immediately comes to mind that I don't know if you're engaged in it as of yet, and I'll just go ahead and give a plug. Department of Juvenile Justice, Juvenile Probation Officer Chief, Mr. Johnny Alderman. He's doing a fantastic job with engaging in the community. And by the way, I got to go ahead and give a disclosure. I used to be the Deputy Secretary of the State Department of Juvenile Justice, and I see the value in these young people, whether, unfortunately, if they're in juvenile detention or on community probation. This is a great benefit to them.
And you know what? That is what we want. So there will always be enough programs and services for the best and brightest. Anytime we go somewhere, we want to give you our best and brightest. That's cool for other organizations. Give us everybody else. Because I was everyone else. I was labeled at risk. I was the trouble child. And it wasn't because I was bad. It was just the circumstances that I was in that I had to adapt, survive in order to thrive, right? If you're hungry, you're going to find a place to eat.
You're right.
Right. So luckily for the county that I lived in, I did not have a record, but I did things. So I want those students, because for most people, if they see a penny on the floor, they're going to walk past the penny especially if it's dirty, it got gum stuck to it, and it's not worth anything. But
Yeah.
collectively, that
Yeah.
power, if you pick it up, you dust it off, you shine it, and then you add compound interest to it. Think about what it is.
You know, something that you just said, really resonated because I have a friend who was a judge, and he saw young people on a regular basis come before him, and young person with electronic monitoring device on their ankle, and he said to this young person, "I've seen you before my court. What is it that we can do to help you not be reappearing before so often?" And I'll never forget, he told me that this young person looked up to him at the bench and said, "Judge, we about to get evicted.
Mm.
I got siblings in the home. Unfortunately," he said, his mom wasn't working, and he said they were hungry. And something you just said, when we look at survival, and yeah, we could sit up here and from a morality standpoint say it's not right, but when folk are hungry,
Exactly.
they're gonna do what it takes to eat. And so when you have a degree of financial literacy, but then the other tail end side of that is we got Career Source out there. We have other organizations, and that's one of the reasons for the sit down, so that we can let people know what's available to the community. Yeah, you got PSAs, public service announcements that people play at 2 o'clock in the morning when we all sleep. And there's other ways, and I'm not going to diminish the value of organizations and government trying to put information out there, but we got to put as much as we can out there, and that's one of the reasons for the sit down. So,
and I thank you.
Oh, hey, no, we thank you, seriously.
Well, do you do any type of workshops for parents?
Oh, yeah.
So here's what we found out during COVID. We have a program. It's called the Student Stock Market Challenge, where they compete against other schools and other students across the state of Florida. And during COVID, we had to move it from being in person to virtual. And so in virtual, we was like, always have your cameras on and, mics on. And we used to hear chatter in the background. We was like, who are these students talking to? Like, what is this? And so we listened and we was like, who are you talking to? Oh, that's just my grandma in the back. She's trying to learn too. And my auntie here with me. And the final straw.
Wow. So you were actually, that was a residual benefit to teaching young people.
So not only just a 2-generation approach, a 3-generation approach.
Wow.
We had no idea. And then once we realized, like, okay, we got to do something. So we logged in for a session. It was this lady at the hospital with her scraps on. I was like, you have to roll. Like, what is this? She was like, oh, no. She was like, my son, he has basketball practice and I'm here to fill in for him. Wow. And I said, are you at work? She said, yes, but he typically comes home to tell me what he learned.
Wow.
And I need to make sure I get the notes. So we doing the session. She was like, what? She's answering. I'm like, ma'am. This is So what I did, I didn't fight it. I then repurposed and had a spinoff, and now we have the Family Stock Market Challenge.
Wow.
So as a family unit, you can now compete against other families. We put $100,000 in a restricted account, so it's not your money. You can remove the fear and just learn and play around and test it.
Well, this is incredible. For those of you, once again, who's watching this show, this is the sit down, and we have Miss Reeves, who's the president, CEO, founder, originator, none other of 8 cents in a jar. And as you talk about that, I'm sitting here because people need to know what it is you're doing, but the value of financial literacy and investment is so incredible that we need to spread it around. And guess what? You didn't know this, but I'm going to get with Miss Wynn. You're going to come back and you're going to co-host this show with me, and we're going to get 2 of the parents that have participated, and we're going to do a show and to see what they've learned so that they can tell other parents.
Yes, I love that.
If someone wants to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
So that is through our website, www.8 cents, my Southern roots coming out, .org.
What's your motto after that? We on radio, so you have to say it. What?
Oh, you got to say it twice.
Yes. So again, we are 8 cents in a jar. You can reach us on our website at www.8 the number 8 cents cents.org. If you was like, oh, that's too long, then find us on social media. We on
Okay.
Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, and just type in 8 cents in a jar,
Well, let me
and you
give
will
you
find us.
let me give you this last plug before we go to a break, and then we'll finish out this segment. But you also welcome private donations, sponsorship. Come on, tell people that it's your
Listen,
time to
so
shine.
right now, so some people do not know about us, and we know that. Why? We don't advertise. We could not advertise because anytime we put something out to the masses, we would get so consumed and we just have to shut everything
Gotcha,
down.
gotcha.
So now we have a wait list of 125 students.
Oh,
that
so
are
you
trying
need
to-
some help then.
We listen, we need help.
So-
So we need to hire. So we have a team, and so shout out to our collaborators. We have a director of programs, Amanda Buckner. We have a senior program assistants, two of them, Chris Stringer and Andret Lapkin, which two of them started out as parents with us.
Oh, okay, okay.
And they liked it so much that they was like, nope, we're gonna work with you one day. So we'll wait until you get that. They now work with us part-time.
Wow.
So organizations, because you're located in Orange County, Seminole County,
Lake and
Lake
Osceola.
and
as well.
Osceola.
Mhm.
If any organization, private or even any individual that wants to donate, and yes, I'm talking about hard resources, and I'm sure you take in-kind donations as well.
Yes.
But go to the website, contact Miss Reeves, and I'm sure she would welcome you.
Indeed, yes.
you're
You
growing
can
this
give
up.
on our page.
You give on the page. Well,
Yes.
tell you what, I'm going to ask our executive producer or our engineer, Mondo, to take us to the last commercial. We'll be right back on the sit down.
Indeed.
PRC is a real-time resource tool for human service professionals, law enforcement, juvenile justice, child...
Please leave your message for 40749622486.
Hey, welcome back to the sit down. And those of you who are watching or listening, we have Miss Reeves with us. 8 cents in a jar. And boy, I tell you, the story that you told us how this came to be. And for those of you who just watched that last commercial, it came back to something that we just talked about. That young man that unfortunately was arrested, he had a job. He was living in a shelter. He told law enforcement that he shoplifted some food because he was at work all day, didn't have any money to buy any food, and he was hungry.
Mm-hmm.
And you also heard law enforcement say, once we got you in the handcuffs, we can't just let you go. And you got law enforcement saying to the camera, to the young people, unfortunately, this man made a mistake. And I got to believe that, the court also shows mercy. This is a young man living in the shelter, employed, and he was hungry. So that's one of the benefits of the community resource connector. You go put a keyword search in, you're looking for food, it'll pull up the pantries in the vicinity of you. You're looking for services such as financial literacy, 8 cents in a jar. It will pull that information up. And something else you mentioned that is so important now, and we had to start realizing it when we went through the pandemic, that face-to-face is great.
Mm-hmm.
But we also had to utilize and learn how to utilize technology.
Yes. And that broadened our reach. So before COVID, I think in 2019, we reached 499 students that one year.
$4.99.
With COVID, we ended at $8.98.
Wow.
And that's a testament to the fact that even without COVID, if you depended on face-to-face for those critical and crucial interactions, you got young people, unfortunately, sometimes don't have the transportation. You got young people that, depending on the logistics, night, day, you could get to them virtually anytime.
Exactly. And then also, like for most of our students, they work not just one but two jobs.
Man.
And still involved in school, right? We have students where they are the primary caregiver for their younger siblings. They got to watch, their kid, their siblings.
Yeah.
So we want to make it where they can reach us. So even in our virtual sessions, it's recorded. We have a platform with our Student Saviors platform where they can go and watch the recordings.
Man, that's
And
good.
as long as they log in, hey, I'm listening, show some type of interaction, then we still count them as an active student.
I can't stress enough how important financial literacy is. Miss Wynn and her interactions with, and Miss Wynn, you got to give a shout out to those programs that you're managing out in the field.
Yes, that would be, excuse me, our tutors, like we said earlier, our high school students, our college students. I have college students that start tutoring while they were still in high school. So
Wow.
they continue while they're in college. So
Yeah.
We
am
definitely need to
very
connect.
proud.
We
Yes,
need to connect because
yes.
that's so in college, right? We show them how to calculate their return on investment by major in school.
ROI.
Yes. So, bringing in those finance terms, but then also starting their sophomore year,
Mhm,
how can you search for careers,
Mhm.
right?
mhm.
Getting those internships, and then once you do get your job offer, how can we help you negotiate your salary? So what I didn't tell y'all,
Mm-mm.
I'm a certified salary negotiator as well.
Come on now.
With my HR and finance hat. So I have helped over 100 people, and collectively they have increased their benefits and compensation by $1 million.
So how do you know what? And before I go there, I gotta say, because we have an issue, and unlike like any and many other communities,
Mhm.
when you're looking at violence
Here,
by young
yes.
people, and so when we think about youth violence prevention,
Mhm.
you have the King Solomon organization, Power Teens, and Morgan Ministries. Those are organizations that we need to figure out how do we get our arms around it so that you can address those young people as well.
Yes, and so and then also we're there to support those organizations.
But see, here's the hook. What you provide is a wraparound service.
It is, yes.
It's a wraparound service, and again, I applaud
Everybody out
folk
there.
that are advertising or trying to advertise what
Mhm.
it is they do, but we gotta get a lot more. And as Dr. Nelson often says, we gotta look for those outcomes.
Yes,
How are we
yes.
connecting? It's not that these social service organizations are in competition with one another, because it's enough
Correct.
to go around.
Mhm.
But if you're providing mentoring services, man, bring some financial literacy to the
Yes.
table.
Right, yes.
And that's what we want.
Yeah. And if you are providing a gender specific service, then man, let those young ladies or those young men compete against each other.
Absolutely.
You're doing an incredible job.
Thank
And
you.
you know what? I got to tell you, I long for the day for my daughters to take their daddy to dinner instead of me always having to foot the bill.
Yes. Yes, and you asked about parents. So we do have like a parent pays component, right?
Okay.
Because the purpose is your parenting should pay off.
Yes.
Where you now have self-sufficient, financially
I like this.
independent
I like what I'm hearing.
children.
Yes.
So if we help them so they can pay their own bills,
Mhm.
own their home, or
What do you
have
call that
property,
again? The
parenting pays.
parenting pays.
Mhm.
So
That also
You
for
know-
the Nana's page.
Yes.
yeah. Hey, so this is an incentive for parents to look up your program, get involved, but also get their children involved.
Yes.
Because I like the parenting pays piece, because at the end of the day, I can also see the effectiveness of your program when my daughter say, "All right, Daddy, I got it."
Yes.
Yes. I'm calling to pay your bill. That's what we doing.
Hey, Daddy, I got it. And you know what? What I long for, I have a 20-year-old and a 16-year-old. I want nothing else before I leave this earth to know and be satisfied that they are self-sufficient, they understand financial
Yes.
literacy,
Yes.
and that
Yes.
my daughters are not gonna long
Yes.
for no man to take care of them financially.
Yes.
I'm still, looking for those young men that are gonna be straight up and down and be the man that I would want for my daughters.
Yes.
But far as any kind of dependency of my daughters on a man for the financial wherewithal, no, they're coming to you to learn that.
Yes, and we accept them, and we take all, because if our students are self-sufficient,
Mhm.
they're voting, they're
Yes.
contributing to the
Yes.
Oh boy, somebody's
community,
getting into
they're giving
voter
back.
education now. Hey, you're
We
speaking our
that's
language.
another subject.
See, my father-in-law's a preacher. You started to preach earlier.
Yes.
You talked about the value of understanding your finances
Yes.
and voter
Now
education.
we going
Man,
voting.
important.
That is
Indeed.
We're gonna have
you
you.
wear a lot of hats.
Yeah, you do.
Miss Reeves.
So money does not solve everything, but it can solve about 80%
Man.
so much problems. So
You're right. You're right. And Miss Quita, I know you have another question, but man, to listen to the fact that you get parents involved when we talk to all the programs that we're engaged with, one of the toughest things that all of them have said is that it is real tough to get the parental engagement. So, and I'm listening to you. You get parents that come on the virtual,
Yes.
and be, taking a look.
notes for the kids.
yes. So I will say this. I'm not saying that we are the masters at it, but we definitely looked at things from a different perspective. So for our bigger programs, we don't do anything without including the parents into the program. So for example, our annual showcase is called Teach Students Money Expo. And it's every April for Financial Literacy Month. We take over like a high school, we take over like community colleges, and we transform it into a fictional city called Eightville. So we like to say that we're somewhere between Eatonville and Tangelo Park. But if you went to Zellwood, you went too far. And if you see the airport, turn around.
Turn
right?
around. Turn around. Hey, there's
Like
somebody that lives in the ABK. She know about the Zellwood Airport out there. One time for Mayor Nelson on that.
Yes.
Too far.
And so we have them to see, feel, experience what it's like to be a 28-year-old living in Central Florida. So they have 3 different tracks that they can pull from. We have 158 real jobs that are based here in Central Florida. We have street signs in our fake city called Eightville. We got MLK Boulevard, because all hoods got MLK, right? We got 8th Street. We have all of this where their goal is that they have 30 days to move into this town. They have a credit score. They have to do their taxes. They got to get a loan to, buy a house. If they can't buy, they got to rent. Childcare, transportation, entertainment, and all of that.
You know what? This almost sounds like you created your own monopoly.
It is. And it is real-time monopoly with the students at the game pieces, and then we throw them curveballs they got to react to. Like when you're preparing for a hurricane, make sure you go out and buy groceries and get insurance. Now, so they have to go to those food
some of those curveballs, and this is real life. Some of those curveballs are when your homeowner's insurance goes up. Some of those curveballs are when your rent goes up exponentially. So
and we have people, and they have life happen shirts on, and they just go around and be Murphy's Law. So they just talk like, hey, you got a nail in your tire from I-4. You're not gonna pay your $200.
Do your expenses.
And they got to react to it in real time.
My grandfather used to say, it's one thing to be able to afford a car. It's another thing to be able to buy it. Buying it is easy. Affording it is the tough thing. And he used to drive us around and say, do y'all notice anything? And you see some nice cars, and you see the yard is cut, but right around the car, the grass is kind of high.
Because the car been sitting there.
And Granddaddy, what are you talking about? That car hadn't moved in a long time. It could be something as simple as the alternator need to be replaced. But if you could only afford to buy it and not be able to afford it, it goes back to what you.
And you know what? So even for that, students, they're like so amazed. And then going back to the parents, they now come home with like, so mom, so dad. So when you say you don't got it, you really mean you don't got it, right? Or the students, so the 2 things that they complain about the most, they was like, why is childcare so expensive? Or they didn't realize you got to pay for trash. And it was like, what you mean? Like, it's the porch. And so
you're right. And then, man, I tell you, just when we get going good, and for those of you, the sit down is 45 minutes. When we get going good and we see the clock on the wall tells it all. But I want to give you a minute before I close us out. tell folk what you think they need to know about 8 cents in a jar. Make sure everybody knows, man, your funding agency, they did right by funding your organization.
Yes.
Mine don't know, but they'll learn the applause button later. But go ahead and give us a minute as to what you want to let the audience know. But also, I got to say again, thank your funding agencies.
Thank you. So through our funding agencies, Orange County Government, Chase, Additions Financial, Robin Hood, and all of the individual donors, because of you, you have created an award-winning nonprofit organization that is based right here in Orange County, Apopka, Florida. So because of you, you have allowed us to get recognition by CNBC through our U.S. Secretary of Education.
Wow.
Yes.
We've had an opportunity to partner with HBO Max and Netflix on documentaries about economic education. And guess what? We're just getting started. We're only 7 years in. So check us out online, on social media. Give to our organization, help us get all 125 students off the wait list, and help make us or make our students be the return on investment, because our coins change communities.
Well, let me tell you, it's already been a return on the investment. For those of you who have organizations and you want to appear on the sit down, you can email us at info@ltnnetwork.org. Once again, info@ltnnetwork.org. Miss Reeves, we want to thank you for joining us with the sit down. Miss Wynn, you do a great job in the community. But you know what? 8 cents in a jar. We need to figure out how we continue to get the word out. Miss Reeves, we both from down south. We both reside in the APK. And once again, the work that you're doing is to be commended. We applaud you. And when we do have the applaud machine working, we applaud you. But
Thank you.